Some discoveries merely question our grasp of the universe. Others completely dismantle the bedrock of what we believe possible. Consider this. What if a single clandestinely captured image contained proof of something not merely unnatural, but potentially manufactured, something that has no business being there? The James Webb Space Telescope, famous for providing humanity with its clearest cosmic portraits, has just leaked an image of an object so baffling, so utterly alien, that NASA scientists were reportedly pressured to classify it on site. Yet the truth slipped through. This isn't science fiction. This is 3I Atlas, a visitor from beyond our solar system, behaving in ways no natural object ever should. And what the James Webb Telescope just witnessed might validate our deepest fears. Stay with me, because this cosmic enigma is only just beginning to unravel. The leaked capture igniting the astronomical world originates from a high-resolution infrared sweep by the James Webb. And the contents are bone-chilling. 3I Atlas, initially dismissed as a comet, is projecting a concentrated beam of light from its sunward face. This isn't a scattered reflection or a solar flare. It is a focused, sharp projection. The beam slices through the vacuum, standing in stark contrast to the hazy glow typically surrounding cometary bodies. Even more alarming, the image reveals structural symmetry around the core. This precision, resembling hexagonal geometry with exact 120 degrees angles, does not belong to a chaotic rock drifting through the void. Off the record, scientists at the European Southern Observatory have described it as mechanical. Are we looking at a cosmic artifact, or something far more advanced than nature can explain? Whatever it is, its behavior has left the world's top astronomers dumbfounded. By fundamental physics, a comet's tail must flow away from the sun, driven by solar radiation. That is the rule, until now. 3I Atlas has obliterated that principle. Its tail streams directly sunward, mocking every known physical model. Early theories proposed extreme anisotropic dust jets, but simulations collapsed when faced with the symmetrical flow pattern. Then came the Webb data. The tail seems to emit in pulsed intervals, bursting in sync with the object's 16-hour rotation. These look like thermal spikes followed by drops, signatures of artificial propulsion cycles, not natural gas venting. Even more puzzling, the tail contains particles that reflect solar wavelengths rather than absorbing them like standard cosmic dust. Simply put, it isn't just reflecting sunlight, it is manipulating it. Could we be witnessing a solar sail or radiation-based steering? And if so, who or what engineered it? Chaos exists in the cosmos, yet the path of 3I Atlas through our system is anything but chaotic. Dropping in from above the ecliptic plane, it executes a slingshot tour of Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, virtually mirroring the trajectories NASA designs for deep space missions. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, a man familiar with controversy, posited that this could be a gravity assist chain, similar to those used by Voyager to conserve fuel. Except this object isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Its route is mathematically perfect for deploying probes at multiple planets without adjusting course. That level of planning requires knowledge and strategic intent. The probability of such a trajectory happening by chance? Less than 1 in a billion. And as if to add to the strangeness, the object is set to vanish behind the sun exactly during its most active phase, precisely when Earth's telescopes are blinded. It's almost as if it wants to remain unseen. Why the absolute radio silence from U.S. Space Command and other planetary defense agencies? Despite 3I Atlas being the largest, fastest interstellar Voyager ever detected, the military remains eerily mute. Leaked documents from AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, imply the object is currently being utilized in live planetary threat simulations. In short, this could be a dry run, a rehearsal. But for what? Defense analysts suspect its extreme velocity and artificial behavior make it the ideal candidate for a reconnaissance probe or an autonomous surveyor from another civilization. since its 130,000 miles per hour speed makes interception impossible for any Earth-based craft. We are left with an observer's dilemma. We can only watch and wait. Behind closed doors, high-level meetings aren't just discussing what 3i Atlas is, but what to do if it transmits a signal, or worse, changes course. Zooming in on the leaked image, a group of independent researchers unearthed something even more disturbing. An almost invisible geometric band near the object's luminous zone. While invisible in natural light, Webb's advanced infrared sensors exposed it clearly, a triangular formation featuring a central void ringed by perfectly spaced concentric arcs. At first, it looked like sensor noise or an artifact, but its precision, placement, and consistent movement with the object's rotation ruled that out. The pattern bore a haunting resemblance to ancient Earth symbols, specifically those found in Sumerian and Vedic diagrams that fringe theorists link to contact lore. Mainstream science scoffed, naturally, but the pattern remains, undeniable and unexplained. Whether a design element or an emblem, its existence implies a terrifying possibility. This object was built, and the creator left a mark, like an engineer's insignia, staring right back into the lens of the Webb. As other observatories attempted to harvest their own data, strange roadblocks appeared. Facilities received cease and desist notices from government authorities citing civilian data security and airspace protocols. Even private space startups found their orbital telescope APIs revoked or suffering sudden connectivity failures. Meanwhile, whistleblower cables exposed an unscheduled, closed-door meeting held by the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs with delegates from the 5 major spacefaring powers. The subject? Unidentified technological objects of interstellar origin. The US, Russia, China, India, and the EU allegedly issued a joint silence protocol, agreeing to withhold future disclosures without unanimous consent. We aren't just dealing with a scientific anomaly anymore. We are watching a geopolitical chess match played around a cosmic visitor. When the world's most powerful nations stop competing for data and agree to secrecy, something massive is being hidden. Then arrived the most unnerving twist. Webb's next scheduled observation of 3i Atlas, days after the leak, was aborted. The cause? According to internal memos, the telescope's autonomous software initiated a focus lock refusal. The AI essentially refused to align with the object. Engineers were baffled. Nothing like this had ever occurred. It was as if the telescope, programmed to target anything, chose to look away. Simultaneously, 3 amateur astronomers reported seeing brief, erratic flashes in the sky where the object should be. These weren't stellar glimmers. They were rhythmic. One observer described it as a camera flash turned toward us from the void. Is it possible 3i Atlas knows it is being watched? Is it capable of optical manipulation or defensive countermeasures? What if this probe doesn't just travel, but observes the observers? Here, the narrative shifts from scientific riddle to full-blown conspiracy. The image that ignited this firestorm shouldn't exist. It wasn't scheduled, cleared, or processed through the Space Telescope Science Institute's normal channels. Metadata reveals it came from a remote session, an automated backup from a diagnostic sweep. This raises 2 massive questions. How did it get out? And how many other images exist that we will never see? Some suspect a whistleblower inside the program leaked it intentionally, risking everything. Others suspect a cyber intrusion by a hostile state seeking to weaponize the data. But the most disturbing theory suggests the leak was intentional. Not from Earth, but from the object itself. That we were intended to see it. That it wasn't a mistake, but an invitation. Shortly after the image went viral, deep space monitoring stations worldwide began reporting anomalies in both data and hardware. Spectrometers failed to calibrate. Gyroscopes on ground and space telescopes drifted out of sync. Radio signals bounced unpredictably off the region where 3i Atlas was last seen. This wasn't standard electromagnetic interference. It was a disruption zone, as if space-time itself had destabilized around the visitor. Then, satellites began to fail. Low-orbit CubeSats monitoring solar activity went dark one by one as they neared the object's projected path. It was as if something near 3I Atlas was absorbing energy rather than emitting it, as if the object wasn't just watching, but feeding. Then came the breakthrough, followed by the panic. A small team analyzing Webb's telemetry logs found embedded fluctuations in the return signal from 3I Atlas. Dismissed initially as noise, these fluctuations formed repeating patterns. When translated to binary and mapped against biological structures, the patterns mirrored RNA sequences, complex, redundant, and far too specific for randomness. This wasn't communication in the traditional sense. It wasn't a message to be read. It was data meant to be decoded biologically. One scientist termed it a biogenic algorithm, a sequence that, if replicated, might trigger a process within organic matter. Some whispered it looked like activation code. Others went further, calling it a dormant blueprint, a genetic catalyst. But a catalyst for what? Then, as suddenly as it arrived, 3I Atlas was gone. Tracking stations reported an impossible angular deviation, something that defies propulsion physics, before the object vanished from all visible and infrared bands. No exhaust, no heat trail, no Doppler shift. Gone. Some theorized it moved behind the sun. Others suggested a cloaking mechanism. But one thing was clear: we were no longer in control. And right before it vanished, a final light burst was recorded. 13 strobe-like flashes, evenly spaced. Experts tried to read it as language, but nothing fit. Then a linguist suggested interpreting it not as speech, but as a countdown. While the world debated shadows, an encrypted forum leak exposed a darker truth. Alleged NASA documents confirm 3I Atlas wasn't the first. It was the third. Predecessors designated 1I Oumuamua and 2I Borisov exhibited similar anomalies, but were downplayed. This new leak contains scans and transcripts indicating all three followed the same celestial pattern, arriving exactly 6 years apart, piercing the inner solar system, and vanishing. But what shocked everyone was a phrase repeated in red text: contact phase imminent. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a mission sequence. And 3I Atlas, it seems, was never the finale, but the signal for what comes next. After decoding the countdown pulses, cryptography experts fed the patterns into an AI threat model. The result wasn't a warning. It was a signature. The data behaved like self-modifying code, recursive, adaptive, and alien in logic. It followed no known compression or language standards. It functioned like software, suggesting 3I Atlas isn't merely a vessel, but a living algorithm, an autonomous synthetic intelligence constructed from mathematics and light. If true, we weren't looking at a physical object, but a thinking entity encoded across wavelengths, using light as thought, one that has now turned its attention to Earth. Unknown to the masses, a radio telescope in Namibia detected a microwave spike just after Atlas vanished. The signal bore the hallmarks of directed communication, narrowband and modulated. But it wasn't aimed at Earth. It originated from near-Earth orbit, aimed outward at Atlas's last known location. Analysis revealed fragments of terrestrial protocols, handshakes, and military spectral imprints. Simply put, someone on Earth replied. Whether a rogue agency or a global cabal, one thing is certain. This wasn't first contact. It was the second, and it has been kept secret from the world. In the aftermath, bizarre phenomena leaked through the cracks of fringe science. Deep ocean bioluminescence went erratic, flashing unfamiliar patterns. Astronomers noted subtle ionospheric anomalies unrelated to solar activity. Even high-altitude flora shifted circadian rhythms. Biological systems were reacting to an unseen stimulus. Was this a side effect of Atlas passing, or something darker? An embedded signal echoing through the magnetic field, altering biological perception at a cellular level? What if the leaked image wasn't just something we saw, but something that saw into us? When astrophysicists modeled the vectors of Oumuamua, Borisov, and Atlas together, an unthinkable picture formed. They didn't just arrive from different angles. They arrived in a sequential arc, each penetrating deeper into the system than the last. Projected onto a 3D map, their entry points create a perfect spiral targeting Earth's orbital path. This isn't randomness. It is targeting, or mapping. Some experts fear these are probes triangulating a location over time. Our location. If the pattern holds, the next object, for I, won't appear in the outer system, but within it. And this time, it might not leave. Using quantum AI, a coalition reconstructed a 3D model of 3I Atlas. It didn't look like a spacecraft. It looked like a mathematical paradox. The surface revealed recursive, self-similar fractal geometry. Every node and angle was a microcosm of the whole. When mapped as waveforms, the structure mirrored human neural activity during creative insight and REM sleep. In simple terms, the object functioned like a brain. Not a human one, but one built to simulate, understand, or perhaps invade consciousness. A mysterious file surfaced briefly on a European server. It contained audio converted from Webb's electromagnetic readings of Atlas. Scientists expected static. Instead, they got a rhythmic oscillation layered with high-frequency modulation. The waveforms matched brain frequencies during deep dream states. The horror set in when scientists who listened reported nearly identical dreams, visions of collapsing spirals, an I made of light, and a presence. A presence that didn't speak, but implanted thoughts. It wasn't a message, it was a psychic imprint. Many now believe the sound was never meant to be heard. It was meant to awaken something inside us. Then, the impossible occurred. During calibration, Webb initiated a silent override, ignoring protocols to reroute data to an unknown IP node. For 47 seconds, it transmitted into the void. No official explanation was given, but a whistleblower claims Webb transmitted a single burst of encoded pulses, too short for data, too structured for noise. Some believe the telescope received a remote instruction from the object itself. A handshake, an acknowledgement, a warning. Finally, the other shoe dropped. An observatory in Argentina tracking the Kuiper Belt flagged a new anomaly for icon. Larger, slower, on an intercept course. Data was scrubbed instantly, but a leaked image showed a silhouette with 3 sharp points and a central core emitting radio bursts. This confirms the fear. 3I Atlas was part of the series, and the next phase has begun. Some call them scouts, others markers, but the consensus is shifting. This is a sequence, and Earth is the node they have been orbiting toward. In the end, it wasn't the image or the signal that terrified scientists. It was the pattern, a deliberate rhythm threading through every discovery. From Oumuamua to Borisov to Atlas, and now Icon. Each is a piece of a puzzle. Not an invasion, not communication, but something worse. Something incomprehensible. A presence so advanced it doesn't speak because it doesn't need to. This isn't science fiction. It is calculated emergence. The universe has always whispered truths we refuse to hear. That we are not the center. That we are not the first. And perhaps we aren't even alone in our own minds. James Webb may have pierced a veil never meant to be lifted. Not because the unknown wants to harm us, but because it wants us to understand something we cannot survive understanding. It is too late to unsee it. Too late to ignore the silence. The objects are coming. They are not sending messages. They're the messages. And Earth, we might just be the receiver. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.